Welcome to Growth Happens in the Dirt, Chapter 6, Part 1, A Journey Through Brain Injury Recovery and the Science of Healings for Survivors and Their Families. Chapter 6, Starting the Work. The greatest explorer on this earth never takes voyages as long as those of the man who descends to the depth of his heart. Julian Green. After Vicky's initial assessment, I was fast-tracked into the concussion team. This meant that I now had weekly appointments with her, occupational therapy, and a neurophysiotherapist and a psychologist who would visit my home. Along with that, I was on the wait list for various specialist assessments and had to navigate government departments to organise accident compensation and additional driving support. Trying to speak to government organisations on the phone was like pulling teeth. Again and again having to repeat the same story, not remembering passwords for websites, or even understanding half of the actions that needed to be taken to tick the box on their system list. Many times I ended up in tears with a random customer service operator who was asking me to repeat my concussion story when all I wanted was help. But eventually the tenacity paid off and I qualified for taxi services to and from appointments and to collect the children from school, along with a weekly cleaner to help with domestic chores. As I couldn't focus my eyes to read and all screens were banned, my week went from vegetating on the couch to a throng of people coming in and out of the house with appointments scattered throughout the week. Oh, it was exhausting. Rehabilitation meant work that my brain resisted with all its might. Just talking to somebody else for longer than 10 minutes made me feel extremely tired. The normal hour-long appointments were like marathons. After each session, I would need to sleep for 2 hours. Every new therapist came with a new set of exercises. When the neurophysiotherapist arrived, she assessed how my eyes were tracking and looked at balance and coordination. I was asked to walk a figure eight on the floor, which resembled a squashed pear. My body wouldn't do what my brain wanted to. I couldn't balance at all. I was given saccades to practice, which is just basic eye movement exercises to fire the brain. They made me feel extremely nauseous. I had a Brock string to try to correct my convergence issue. Letters taped on the wall to practice eye tracking, neck stretches, compulsory daily exercise, and my own regime of healthy eating. Amongst all the rehab, my pre-existing conditions were raised. Attention deficit disorder, anxiety, and depression. The mental health battle that, even though I was a naturopath, wasn't solved without medication. Everything was worse mentally because of the head injury. The psychologist would talk to me about the co-morbid conditions of concussion, which I already had. A head injury can make these pre-existing conditions worse or create them in others. But the key was that if I healed my brain, these symptoms would also decrease. We discussed my marriage, and each time my husband was used as a punching bag for the perceived lack of support. I was given more paperwork to read and more exercises to do. The sessions made me feel as if I was more crazy than concussed, and afterwards I always felt sad and empty. Talking about how bad things were didn't seem to help at all. After each session, I would need to sleep for the rest of the day. Although the rehabilitation was meant to be helping, it seemed that I was digging holes in dry sand. Each step of progress was quickly followed by a caving in on itself. As the weeks passed, the specialist came to give me more exercises. More things I had to cut out, more things I had to do regarding eye movements, psychological tips, more stretches. They were all working toward the same goal, to get me better, yet I felt as if it was a mountain of work that didn't seem to produce results. I was doing the planning and pacing, the eye exercises and meditating, yet the nausea of trying so hard to get better was burning both ends of the candle. I started to feel overwhelmed with the whole process and started to tell them what they wanted to hear. I stopped everything and completely lied through my teeth when they arrived. Oh, yes, it's totally improving. My knee, oh, yes, I'm doing those stretches every day and it's way better. My headaches, oh, yes, I'm doing the neck stretches, thank you. And they're really helping. Of course I am. Yes, thank you so much. It's really working. I was able to pretend in those 1 hour sessions that life was getting better. Yet in truth, after they left, I would sit back on the couch again, feeling useless and disempowered, staring into space, grieving the person I once was. Some days I walked from room to room, not even knowing why I was there. Some days I was so frustrated with the change that I wanted to rip my head off. Most days I would sob and sob when holding my family and felt frustrated that I wasn't even able to read my kids' bedtime stories. I knew that everyone was just trying to help me, yet I felt helpless. During the early stages of rehabilitation, Vicky, the occupational therapist, gave me tools that felt like they were working to heal my brain. As I sat in the cupboard with my noise-cancelling earphones on, the silence was like a warm blanket that I cherished. The musty odour of the stored items and the soft wind that ran through the roof was the best part of my day. Some days I slept in the cupboard. Some days I cried in the cupboard. Some days I sat wide-eyed and scared, as though this moment would never pass. Some days the anger overtook me, and some days I sat with nothing in my head at all. Why me? Where have I gone? Why can't I just go back to how I was? But I persevered with the rehabilitation. The neurophysio would try to touch my neck gently to ease some of the pain, but even the slightest touch felt like razor blades. I'd sit with the first young psychologist and discuss my triggers to try and settle my anger towards my husband. I said to her, "Oh, if you turn up and I've bought 10 pigs and he's missing, you'll know I've dealt with my triggers." She blushed and smiled. My mood was so up and down and dependent on how much pie had been taken away from appointments during the day. Unfortunately, my husband was still the punching bag for me, and I would sit outside with my friend at night. She was still living with us, bemoaning the fact that he was working when he should have been home with me. Each day was so different, and I felt as if there were no stability in my symptoms or my mood. I was being given a lot of support to get better, yet my motivation to do the work was dependent on my energy. I knew I needed to trust the process. The hardest part was letting go of my former self. With a concussion, a new vulnerability forms, and it's a scary road emotionally to just let go and trust. The tools. Trusting the specialists. When you experience a brain injury, it can be like a glass bridge of healing. You can't see whether each step will help you, and you need to have a certain amount of trust in those who are helping. And often the healing happens in stages early in the rehabilitation. You may not feel like the specialists are helping, but it is important to keep on doing the work because eventually your brain will heal. Tool, co-morbid conditions. If you have previously suffered from anxiety, depression, OCD, or ADHD, or any other mental health diagnosis, you may find that your concussion makes these symptoms worse. It doesn't mean you are suddenly crazier. Your brain needs help. Dr. Amen has shown that specific foods and activities help the parts of the brain that are responsible for creating these symptoms, which are included in the resource section of the book, now available on Amazon. Whatever your comorbid condition was prior to the concussion can be a clue to your healing pathway now. ADHD, your prefrontal cortex may need support. Depression, your limbic system may need support. Anxiety, your basal ganglia may need support. And OCD, your anterior cingulate may need support. Tool, the rehabilitation journey. Whether you have had a large brain issue or a small one, the following suggestions may help. Be aware that during the rehabilitation exercises, you may feel sick. With all the exercises, do them to a point of just feeling nauseous and then stop. Consistency is better than quality. If you've had a bad day, just do a little bit. The next day, do a tiny bit more. You need 3 things before you begin. 1, a complete ownership of your health. Even though your medication and specialists are with you, they are only part of your toolbox to wellness. This is your journey, and owning it 100% will help you more quickly. 2, an acceptance of where you are right now, and understand that each day is going to be different. 3, a sense of trust in the process. Some results may be immediate, others will take time. The key to moving forward with your brain health after injury is to be gentle with yourself and celebrate the small wins. For your brain, it is like learning to walk again. And the information here is the full program of my journey. Success did not happen overnight, but it gives you an example pathway to follow as you get better. The rehab exercises that I found most beneficial were 1, eye saccades, 2, planning and pacing, 3, meditation, 4, balance exercises, 5, eye palming. Tool. Progress can be 1 step forward, 2 steps back. As your brain heals, it feels like a muscle getting stronger. Yet what can happen after the injury as we add more things into our day is we can become symptomatic again. You may be feeling a lot better and then start working for a few hours, and then the headaches may start again. You may be working and add a new duty, and the headaches or other symptoms may return. What I have found is that it is almost as if the brain is being stretched to accommodate the new information. Just like working out in the gym, when muscles tear in order to grow, the pain of progress can be like this for a brain injury. Knowing that this is normal will help you to plan and pace as new activities or learning come into play. Some things may have to drop off to let new things in, and that's okay. You will eventually gather up your habits again. Tool, eye exercises. Saccades are eye movements that quickly shift the eye's focus between 2 fixed points. We use them with driving and when reading. Every eye movement that involves scanning our environment is a saccade, and healthy brains do this quickly. However, brain injuries and damaged neural pathways can lead to irregular eye movements. The eye exercises that you are given to rehabilitate are very important. If you haven't been given eye exercises, some basic ones to get you started are mentioned in my book, which is available on Amazon and also in Kindle. But basically, it's just moving the eyes in different directions, and you can find this sort of information online as well. Additional eye exercises I used were tracing mazes on paper, eye stretches with the eyes closed, holding a position like a muscle stretch, the Brock string, crossbody exercises, and balancing. When you experience a concussion, you may find that one side of the body is weaker. Whatever side of your brain is hurting, you may find the opposite side of the body struggles to balance. For example, an injury on the right side of the brain may affect movement on the left. There are two hemispheres to the brain, the right and the left, and in the middle is a bridge called the corpus callosum, which transmits messages to either hemisphere. Whichever side is struggling is where your work is, which is such the common theme for concussion, right? We dig in where the struggle is, but only ever go to your edge. If you use your symptom traffic light, for example, if you get to red and you're very symptomatic, you've gone way too far. So we want to keep your symptom at just an orange. So when you're doing any cross-body exercises and balancing, and you may start to get a headache, you may start to feel nauseous, you may get spinning, whatever your symptoms are, you need to pull back straight away. Cross-lateral movement creates connections from one side of the brain to the other across the connecting highway, building the bridge between two halves of the brain. It then creates the capacity for even more complex sensory processing and complex thinking to happen. So basically, it just helps our brain to function better. Incorporating cross-body exercises and balance into your rehabilitation journey will start to fire up the bridge in your brain, leading to better cognition. So some places to start. Hold on to a support if you need to. Balance on one leg. Brush your teeth with the opposite hand. Seated on a chair, place the opposite hand to the opposite knee and keep switching until you feel symptomatic and then stop. You can do bear crawls if you can, hand clap games, any sort of alternate hand motion, holding ears and do a squat, which is a gym quick exercise, ping pong, tossing a ball to a partner. But one of the most powerful is the cross crawl. So that's really just alternating opposite hand and knee as you're lifting and lowering. The last tool is eye palming. Palming originates from yoga and helps to relax the eye muscles. So to palm, all you do is start by rubbing your hands together to warm them up. Close your eyes and place the palm of each hand over your eyes. Cup your hand and keep them there and breathe deeply for 5 minutes. And this can be a beautiful brain bath during the day. So thank you for listening to Growth Happens in the Dirt, Chapter 6, Part 1. I really hope it helps you and your loved ones in some way.